The Hitman World of Assassination trilogy has always been known as being a series of condensed sandbox levels that allow its players to take the evil people out who have control over the world. Taking control of the iconic Agent 47, you are given a huge arsenal of weapons and tools in order to eliminate your targets with insanely creative executions. Whether it's as simple as knocking out all the targets in one room and then giving your target a little taste of lead, or as complicated as shooting a chandelier from all the way up there, the Hitman trilogy allows it all. However, this always raises a question for me. What exactly about this specific game makes players experiment with all of these creative kill opportunities across 3 games worth of content and try to fully understand this game's mechanics? What part of this game makes even players want to try doing all these crazy experiments? Well, you may be a bit surprised when I tell you that the level design on its own is what makes Hitman players choose to master the ins and outs of this game. That may sound like a yeah no shit moment, but I don't think you fully understand what I mean when I say level design on its own is what makes the Hitman sandbox so fun to play around in. And to explain this, we're going to wind back time all the way to 2011 with Hitman Absolution and 2006 with Hitman Blood Money. While the main subject matter of this video is the World of Assassination trilogy, these are very good games to reference when talking about the level design carrying games in the Hitman series. Without a doubt, Absolution was the best Agent 47 felt when controlling him at the time. Clinging to walls feels solid, popping heads in a firefight has never felt so good, and there's nothing in the industry at that time that felt better than strangling a man with a piano wire than an Absolution. As for Hitman Blood Money, while it felt good enough to control, it still had plenty of issues regarding moving around in the environment. Trying to grab someone in a chokehold can just choose not to work sometimes, shots just might not hit when you want them to hit, and you might have to shoot a dog once or twice. The gameplay here is still good, but 47 doesn't feel as good to control as he does 6 years later. So why do people call Hitman Blood Money a masterpiece and call Absolution a disaster for the gaming industry? While Absolution may have the best feeling Agent 47, it has some of the least enjoyable levels in the whole series, with stuff like incredibly linear missions and very unnecessary set pieces that just scream, "Hey guys, I came out within the decade of Gears of War." It was a huge issue that Hitman fans had with the game, and it's the reason that Hitman Absolution is considered the worst game in the series by many, which is fucking crazy when you consider Hitman Codename 47 fucking exists. On the other side of things, Hitman Blood Money has some of the best levels in the series. There are tons of amazing kill opportunities and different ways to go about each and every level. I guarantee you that you could get 10 people to try to get Silent Assassin in any of these levels and they'd all go about it completely differently. Blood Money may have its jank, but it's all looked past at when you look at how good most of these levels are. And that's the point I'm making. Even Absolution has its good moments when they go for more traditional Hitman level styles, and that's when the game is at its best. The levels that are like this aren't as good as Blood Money's levels, but they still do a good job at offering a more traditional Hitman experience. Level design is what carries Hitman, and with the World of Assassination trilogy having the biggest and most expansive levels in the whole series, it made me wonder, what exactly separates a good level design choice and a bad level design choice, and how do these levels encourage players to pull off a really cool assassinations like these? Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Batchy, and this is how Hitman tricks you into being a master. Hitman Trilogy has 19 massively expansive and complex maps, with many rooms to connect to rooms, multiple floors with more rooms, tons of mission stories that allow you to easily access your targets, guards patrolling the map to keep you on your toes. God, I feel like a fucking Wikipedia article. The point I'm trying to make is that there's lots of depth to these maps, having tons of NPCs with their own routes and actions that they need to do, tons of items to pick up, lethal or not lethal. There is so much to these maps that on your first playthrough of the game, trying to be as sneaky as you can be with your little knowledge of the game may have an inventory that looks like this, and a few rooms with 1 or 2 guys who may not be breathing. While there is no shame playing the game that way, and the game's developers, IO Interactive, aren't going to put a gun to your head because you chose to snap Innocent's neck instead of just putting him to sleep, IO does encourage its players to learn and understand the mechanics of the game to try to help improve their runs through each level. There are plenty of ways that the game might pull off dopamine respectors to replay and get better at whatever game you're playing. Devil May Cry has ratings for your combos, encouraging the player to learn how to do S-rank combos, but Hitman takes a little more subtle approach to this.
These are mission stories.
Basically, to sum them up, they are scripted sequences that effectively lead the player to a chance to take out the target. Whether it's as simple as getting into a room that's void of guards or as complex as assisting a rival hitman in taking out your targets for you, they effectively do all the dirty work for you. Obviously, that isn't making anyone play better. That's just a free silent assassin rank that won't teach you anything. But one thing they can teach you is certain features of the map. For example, in the map Paris, one of the mission stories is to disguise yourself as a sheik who's a special guest of honor. You might not gain any more skill from this, but what you might learn is that this disguise is kind of overpowered. There are damn near no enforcers when you are in this disguise. If you don't know what enforcers are, basically they're just these little bastards with a dot above their head that are the ones who can see through whatever disguise you are wearing. But yeah, the Sheik has no enforcers and is outright overpowered that you can travel pretty much all of the Paris map except the attic area. But honestly, if you don't know how to navigate that without knocking out the guards, then you do need to get better. And that brings me to my next point. Every single NPC in this game has their own scripted path and actions that they never change on each playthrough. Every NPC will start in the same place and start walking to the same place each and every time. So let's say you want to do your very own Silent Assassin suit-only run of Mendoza. You'd know that it can be quite a pain in the ass to try to knock out guards without somebody seeing you. But if you memorize the timing of the guards you need to get past, there is a pretty good chance that you may be able to find a specific route where everything times itself perfectly. It's the learning the timing in order to play better that you'll do in order to master it, and the game incentivizes you to go for something like the Silent Assassin suit only with the challenges and mastery system. After you beat a mission, the game greets you with this screen of challenges, and if you complete one of them, it sneezes in your face and you get some mastery experience. Mastery points allow you to unlock new weapons, starting locations in the mission that give you predetermined disguises, and some places you can smuggle extra items in. These, of course, are very useful for not only repeat playthroughs, but going for a few challenges easier, which is why getting these mastery points doesn't come easy. You can very easily get to mastery level 10 on each mission by just completing a couple mission stories, but if you want to hit mastery level 20 to unlock more items to maybe be able to pull off a creative kill idea you had in mind but need a specific item that is only unlockable in a certain mastery level of a specific map, then you'll have to learn the ins and outs of those maps just to complete those challenges for those missions. Challenges are pretty vague when it comes to some of them. Some, like the Silent Assassin suit only one, is quite obvious, though it may be a challenge to complete for it, but then there's some challenging you to kill a specific agent in Berlin with their very own sniper rifle. And now we're finally getting to the point where the game properly teaches you how to become a master of stealth with their game. This man is standing right here next to his sniper rifle, so it seems easy enough to just grab his sniper and shoot him. But the game presents a few complications. The first one is that he's in an area littered with guards. Seems easy enough, just find a lure to get a disguise to get up to the top. But problem number 2 arises when you find out that he's surrounded by guards himself. If you shoot him now, you'll just be outnumbered and likely killed. So instead, you should try getting rid of the guys around him without being seen, because if you're seen, then again, you'll be greeted by our favorite death screen. Okay, so you've knocked out every guard without being seen by another one and hid their bodies in the nearby closet. And here's the final holdback. You still have yet to shoot this guy, and it's still going to be heard, but the closet can't take any more bodies. So shooting him here will very likely have it be heard by every guard in the building. So because of this, you need to find the isolation to hide his body before you kill him so that you can get out and potentially keep your Silent Assassin rating to get more XP. Which, Silent Assassin has all of these requirements that I really don't feel like reading to you. But once you do, you might not have noticed that you've just learned a lot by simply doing one of these challenges. You learned a good way to isolate targets to make sure nobody finds them, and learned where good places to use wild weapons for specific challenges and whatnot. And an even more subtle aspect that took me years to notice is that they knew you'd be looking for a spot to hide bodies that you knocked out, so they strategically placed a closet to hide the bodies. Not directly in the way, but put in a spot so that you as a player feel like you found it. I want to talk a little bit more about that, because Berlin isn't the only place that does this. Sapienza does this in a few spots to get an easy disguise and hide the bodies before someone sees it, though sometimes it does feel useless when some of these spots no one actually comes to see. Ever. But I'll tell you that there are so many spots in every map that make you feel like you're the smart one who discovered all of this, but IO designed it to play out just like this. It's like Dishonored with the rat sequence in the tutorial. This one is different because it isn't a scripted sequence, but instead you feel like you did this all with your own thinking. I want to look at more of these sequences just to really emphasize my point. In Chongqing, one of the ways you can easily kill your target without being seen is by allowing Hush, your target, to go into an office, but the problem is that there's a guard who will most definitely see you throw a screwdriver at his head. So while it may seem simple just knocking him out and hiding his body, it still gives you that feeling that you are the one that discovered an easy isolation. Alright, okay. Enough about rambling about the hiding body shit, you get the idea. But what about ways to kill your target without the need to ensure a body will not be found? One of the requirements to the Silent Assassin rating is that the body can be found if it was caused by an accident. This is where shit gets good. Can you tell that I forgot to record this part of the video and I don't have time to set all the camera stuff back up? Yeah. This is not gonna be the first time that happens, by the way. I talked about it before, but NPCs, including the targets, have their own movement cycles that can be memorized. This isn't me saying memorize every NPC cycle, that would be ridiculous. Instead, what they want you to do is pay good attention to the target's movement. Where do they walk if you do a specific action? Where do they go if you just let them wander on their own? Finding the answer to these questions will only benefit the player because learning these things may allow some kills, such as shooting a chandelier on the top floor from the bottom floor courtyard, or loosen the glass in a bank's office big clock so that when the target leans on it, she will just fall through. But why would you want to do kills like this in the first place? This is where IO Interactive takes yet another subtle but genius approach to pushing the player to play the game how they want them to. I want to talk about the first level here because it really sets the scene. The setting here is a fashion show party with a huge set piece, that being the runaway with a light rig right above it. You cannot go without noticing this on your first playthrough because of how in your face it is. Generally, on your first playthrough on every map, you will find yourself exploring as much as you can, hope to find a perfect kill opportunity, with a proper isolation and whatnot with mentioned before design philosophies. Perhaps you'll make it upstairs in one way or another and eventually find your way into the attic. Once you're in the attic, you'll find that you are directly above the runway, and some of the guards point out the fact that if the light rig above the runway were to fall, then it would crush everyone on the stage. Now, you have a perfect kill opportunity right in front of you. In fact, it was the big set piece in front of you. All you need to do is get the necessary items, wait for the necessary procedures, then watch as the light rig takes out your target. This, even if you don't see it, is a tutorial that you wouldn't even notice. Having some sort of set piece kill, this is an incredible way to influence players to do their own cool creative kills on their own. And it doesn't stop at the first level. There are plenty of scenes just like this. Whether it's a New York bank's glass clock overcasting the main floor, or a giant ass murder mystery house where there's a set piece that can lead you to a kill, not only paying attention to your surroundings and dialogue, but also understanding NPC movement patterns and reactions over specific events in game. This is one of the many reasons why I believe Haven Island is one of the worst missions in the game for players to be pushed to mastery, along with a few others. There's no big set piece to drive players to try and get to. It has some houses and a gym and whatnot, but nothing that makes players want to go somewhere. Haven is also really flat, and it doesn't really do it well at all. A map like Colorado, which I believe to be an incredibly underrated map, is also very flat, but it does pretty well with having some level and complexity to the map. But in Haven, there isn't really much depth to it other than this underground lab, which allows you to kill all of your targets in one propane trap, but that really doesn't do much for the rest of the map. That's just one area. And for my final Haven complaint point, I need to talk about why consistency between maps is very important to assist in mastery. If you know a thing or two about game design, you'll know that pretty much every NPC in every game you'll play has some sort of view cone so that they can see you from a certain distance. And in Hitman, enforcers have this view cone, and it allows them to see you through your disguises and whatnot, which is really good for cool strategies to get past some of them, like this guard in Marrakesh in front of Reza Zaydan's office, where to get past them you have to set up an explosion death trap. You need to come up with a way to get past them and take out your target. Generally, it's pretty easy to know when a target can and can't see you within your distance, allowing you to shoot your gun at something from a distance and not be seen, and this distance is consistent between every single map. Every single map other than Haven. For some retarded reason, the level designers for Haven thought it would be a good idea to have the view cones of every single NPC be double their normal distance, so now you can't perform any illegal action that could potentially be interesting without taking a bigger risk of being seen by somebody without you even knowing that they can see you. For a first-time player, this might not be that big of a deal. Generally, the player might be going for a mission story or something in that manner, but if you want to be able to pull off more interesting kills, then you're gonna be thrown in for a surprise when you randomly get spotted by some fucking guy who didn't even fucking see me. Consistency in any game is a very important aspect to game design. I don't mind if an NPC is stupid as hell, but what I do care about is if the NPC is consistently stupid as hell, which is why Haven is such a bad map for a game like this. It brings inconsistency to an otherwise constant NPC pattern. But that's just one map in a giant pool of others that do it great. Marrakesh with its giant riot wanting your target Klaus Strandberg dead, which drives the player to go to this area. Paris having a firework detonation to manipulate your target to stop his normal pathing and walk to go scream about his fireworks show being ruined just to be rudely interrupted with an unfortunate propane accident. Sabotaging some parachutes for your targets so when they evacuate they just jump off the building and die. This stuff is truly genius and are excellent showcases of player mastery, using set pieces and scripts to eliminate any and all targets in some of the most creative ways imaginable. I fucking love Hitman. There really is no game like it, with tons and tons of unique opportunities to really let your creativity show. This game has so much complexity that leans into that easy to learn, hard to master design philosophy, which I fucking love when a game does that. I fucking love it when Luigi's Mansion has the ghost thing that's really easy to learn, but if you want to do it really well, you have to take a while to learn it. The Halo series, where you have to deal with the different types of Covenant and how they do things differently every single time you play the level. Devil May Cry. I kind of suck at Hitman, but even then, I've been able to pull off my own routes that make me feel satisfied with the runs of levels I've been able to do. And even though all of these missions are great, I want to point out that the contracts mode allows you to play player-made contracts, and a lot of them fucking suck, but some of them are really good. Here, if you're a Steam player, then I made a couple of contracts for you to try out for yourself, and let me know how they go for you, and send me your own routes on Twitter or something like that. Don't send it to me on Twitter. Get off Twitter. I'm not just saying this. I truly believe that Hitman has every single thing that it needs done perfectly in the world of Assassination. It has the humor, strategy, and most importantly, the mastery. And the best part about all of that is that IO Interactive tricked you into achieving all those and making it feel like it was you all along. Whether it's New York's This is my cat's not leaving. This is Leon. Leon, say hello.